So I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. Things kept popping up over the past few years that prevented me from getting this video done. 2013, I wasn't feeling well. 2014, I was busy with the whole Godzilla NES creepypasta story. 2015, I was still busy with the 13 Days of Pastas. Then I lost the file to edit this file and stuff. I guess I accidentally deleted all that and stuff. But, yeah, I'm finally here. And I figured I wouldn't want to make you guys wait until Transgender Day of Remembrance, so I decided to do this for the Day of Silence. This was originally going to be a fully scripted review, essentially. I was basically going to talk about each chapter individually, and I was going to give my overall thoughts at the end and stuff, but I don't have the time for that because of work and stuff. And I thought it would be more interesting if I just gave my real on-the-spot thoughts without a script or anything, and I just talk about the story. And I just talk about how it's influenced me. So, Between the Lines, this has been something I've been hyping up over my channel for the past 2 months or so, because I've had these little short videos where somebody would say Between the Lines at some point, you know, because of what they're talking about in general. And I thought it'd be kind of funny if I were to, like, add an image or something of the comic in there. Pretty much, this whole story is about two transgender teens who are just finding themselves and are still growing and still just trying to live the daily lives without being discriminated against. There are a lot of transgender comics online now, or at least comics that feature them, and they have definitely gotten more awareness over the years, but I thought I would bring this one up because this is the story that helped me come out as I am now. Like, I was able to finally figure out my sexuality and my gender, and I feel a lot better now than I ever did 4 years ago because I'm moving forward, I'm doing new things. I've talked to a therapist recently. We're still figuring out insurance, but I will eventually start hormone blockers, so that's good, and eventually estrogen, so I'm really excited about that. I've actually had a few friends who are transsexual, one who was also a trans woman who just recently went through surgery to fix what's down there, you could say. And I also know a trans male who just started testosterone, so good for you. I'm not giving out names, but what I'm basically saying is I do comprehend how hard it can be, especially in this, even now in 2016, how hard it can be to be yourself without being discriminated against. And I'll talk about the story in a minute, but there are still a lot of issues going on. Like with me, for example, I have to apply as a male, I have to dress like a male, I have to act like a male, essentially. So that is very damaging towards my self-esteem, and I feel conflicted about what's going on in my life and how my life is going. Hopefully after I start taking estrogen and stuff, that'll start to change, but even then, it'll probably still be very hard for people to accept. I mean, my family doesn't give a shit. They're fine with that. They're completely accepting of who I am, but I'm talking about people out there, like, trying to find a job, or even just using the right bathroom. I mean, I dress this way when I've gone to Chicago, when I went to the headquarters place, that bar in Chicago, and how weird must it have been if you were to walk into the men's room and you saw me at the urinal, you know? It's weird. It's a bit odd that you see someone like this at a urinal, especially in my situation. Granted, I was born male, but still. And there were definitely a lot of bullshit going on. Like, I just recently heard of this pass that says, I will award $2,500 to the person who catches a transgender person in general using the opposite bathroom or whatever, even though they are clearly identified now as the opposite sex, or everyone knows that they identify as the opposite sex. Just because you have a penis, they can discriminate you against that. They can use transphobia against you. They say, oh, what about the women? They are so affected because this trans woman is trying to use the bathroom. Oh, it's upsetting them. Look, that's one in God knows how many chance. I mean, it's so silly to think that every transsexual person who's going to go in the opposite bathroom is going to harass you or do God knows what, because, you know what, these people are just trying to live their lives, they're just trying to be themselves, and for you to discriminate and say, oh, we can't allow that, no, let's actually fine them a fee just because they want to be themselves. I mean, it really enrages me, because I identify as a woman, and unfortunately my voice does not do the same, because I still have to be trained voice-wise, and hopefully I'll start doing more female voices in the future, but I dress and act more feminine, and I have to use the fucking men's room. So how do you think other people must feel when they're pretty much being fined or even in trouble at school or at other places? But you know what I'm saying. Transgender people are still going through a lot of discrimination, even more than gay people now, because with more trans people being accepted, there are definitely a lot of issues where they're being neglected or even abused, and God knows what, unfortunately. For this story, for this whole webcomic, it pretty much just shows the positives and the negatives of coming out and being yourself. There are two transgender teens. One is Shay, and she's the blonde one. She's the party girl. She's the one you definitely want to hang out with. She's the one who has good intentions. Sometimes it doesn't work out in the long run, but you know she's trying to push you to be yourself and be happy. And she's the kind of girl who can do a 180. One minute she can be all good-lucky and happy and stuff and hang out with friends, but the second you insult her or any of her friends or whoever, she'll definitely be on the defense and doing whatever she can to protect her friends, which is very noble. And I really enjoy that character trait from her. I mean, she's not a perfect person, and I'll talk about that later. And then there's Danny, and she is obviously very shy. She's picked on a lot. This person's gone through hell with her biological parents, and they're completely abusive, and they're like, oh, we'll never have any fags in our family and stuff, and they're completely close-minded and stuff. I mean, keep in mind, this is really early in the story, and characters didn't get a chance to fully develop, so we didn't know what was up their asses about that. I guess what I'm basically trying to say is, Danny's gone through a lot. She's been bullied, she's been harassed, she's been in situations where she's almost killed herself, and it's very sad. Thankfully, she didn't go all the way through, and in the story, she's alive, but it's very sad that you've been abused not only by people at school, but even by your own family member. I mean, by your own dad, because, oh, well, you might be possibly gay, so I'm gonna smack you in the face, and you just don't do that. You don't do it to your kid who's finding out who he or she is. That's a horrible thing to do to your child. I saw this on Facebook at one point, saying parents feel like they're failures because they have a gay kid. No, disowning them or treating them like less than a human being is what makes you a failure as a parent. You're supposed to care about them no matter what. I mean, even religious-wise saying that, being gay is a sin. You know the whole saying of hate the sin, love the sinner? Well, some people really tend to ignore that part. They tend to treat them like abominations, and it's horrible. And it's really sad that some people still use that mindset. So, Shay and Danny are really interesting characters to me for the most part. And it's funny, I'm kind of like a mix of both. I'm the kind of person who's, well, you can see me, I don't care what people think about me. I'll dress any way I want and just feel confident. Especially when I'm with friends, I'll do what I want. I don't care what people think. I'm still discovering myself. I'm still figuring out who I am and whatnot. But I don't care what they think because I'm living my life. And yet, I'm a little mix of Danny too because I am a bit shy. I don't talk to people that much. I'm one of those people who likes to be alone and stuff. So I'm a good mix between both of these characters. And there are a lot of interesting characters on the side, like Rasley. She's this black lesbian girl, and she's very friendly, outgoing, fun, all that kind of good stuff, and she's a pretty cool character from what I've seen. I like the way she dresses, I like the way she does her hair. She seems pretty open-minded and seems really cool with her friends and stuff. We also got Savas, and a pretty cool guy. He's a pretty open-minded person. He likes hanging out with friends, and he apparently is supposedly dating Nikki, who used to be Nicholas. And this person used to, ironically enough, pick on Kevin because he originally thought he was gay before realizing that he was actually a straight female, which must have been very conflicting in these kind of scenarios if you see the story in full, like the chapters, and it's actually very intriguing. And Nikki and still is kind of a bitch, essentially, in this story. So she was a straight male, now she's a female, and honestly, from the character pick, it really shows. And to be honest, for someone who did this a little bit later, I think she looks pretty damn good. She's a hypocrite because now she's making fun of Danny, who's trying to dress up like a female. Really? Coming from you? Coming from someone who's also transsexual, presumably? I mean, why are you making fun of us for doing what you're doing? Granted, I'm not sure if Danny knows if she's a lesbian or could be bisexual, bi-curious, but still, it's a bit mean. It doesn't make sense why she would pick on them for doing similar things. I don't know, maybe she has some self-esteem issues. So we also get Kevin's parents, or Shay's parents, sorry. The father we only see him for like literally 2 panels, and we could presume he's an ass because his ex-wife is now letting Shay take these hormone pills to turn into a female, and she's allowing him to turn female. Oh, he needs a man in his life, or he needs to have a manly influence and stuff. And that's a dick move to use someone else's issue to make you look good, which it really doesn't. So Kevin/Shay also has his mother, who is a little mixed. She is conflicted on the whole scenario, especially the way she dresses, understandably, given that she's only 14. So the way you kind of look at the outfit and like, she's 14? That's a little bit conflicting. But again, she's discovering herself. She's still learning who she is. She's kind of dressing in the gothic scene kind of look, and it's kind of cool. I like that outfit. I think it's a pretty cool outfit. It's kind of between the line of experimental, kind of goth scene-like, and arguably some people will think, oh, she's slutty. Actually, Danny's mother at one point even says, I won't let you influence her, you slut, or something like that. I'm like, I don't think she's a slut. Yeah, she's experimented, but we've all been there. We've all experimented. Maybe the way he dresses is a little questionable, but I think it's a cool outfit. I think she's a cool character. And the mother is understandably a little bit concerned about her, and at first she's not for her transition and stuff, and that's a bit understandable. I mean, she's still getting over the fact that her own kid was supposed to be a gay male and stuff, so doesn't say, oh mom, by the way, I'm actually a straight female, I want to get boobs. I want to start taking hormones and eventually get boobs. It's a bit conflicting, of course, but I guess what I'm saying is, she's definitely a good mother. She just cares and wants to make sure she's safe. Yeah, I think she's a caring person. It's like my dad. It's like, at first he didn't want me dressing up the way I do. Now we go out to Chicago together, like, to see a specific midnight movie or go out with family, and he doesn't give a shit anymore. The only reason he was concerned about me going out is because he doesn't want me getting hurt and stuff, and he cares about me. And that's understandable, but it doesn't mean he's prejudiced towards me or he hates me or anything. He just cares about my safety. Shay also has a sister named Carrie, and again, she is so nice. She is so likable. She, in the story, is like, you know what, I don't care if you are a gay male or a woman or whatever, I'll still love you the same. I'm giving my little bro or sis, and that is very heartwarming. They seem to have a genuine bonding experience. Like, the first time you see her, when he was still Kevin, he's doing her nails and stuff, and they talk about their issues and stuff. It's actually very nice. I'm glad that it shows that siblings can get along like that in these kind of stories, and that it doesn't always have to result in the Tom and Jerry kind of style you kind of see in other shows nowadays. It's kind of refreshing, actually. So, in these 4 chapters, the original chapters, it had more of a manga style, you can notice, and especially in the earlier stories, like when it was still developing, it was more anime-ish, more manga style, and it really shows, and it evolved over time, and I really enjoyed the artwork. Like, the artwork is interesting. I love the backgrounds. It kind of pulls an Amazing World of Gumball, sit down, shut up kind of style to it, I guess you could say, because the foreground is drawn, obviously. Like, you see the characters, you see whatever else is around, like trees or grass or sidewalks, etc. But the backgrounds, like the back images and stuff, it's usually part of a city, or usually you see you see the side of a building and there's graffiti on the side. They might be sitting on those brick walls you could arguably see possibly from a Peanuts cartoon. But I guess what I'm saying is, it's actually pretty cool to see a good mixture of art in this kind of style. And this is definitely a good comic to work with. I'll talk about the Reboot comic because it does it a little bit differently. But with this story and these kind of comics, it's very intriguing. It actually got me really interested in what was going on in the story. All I know until up to chapter 4 is that Shay is trying to get Danny to become more comfortable with who she is. That's fair, but she's concerned because her parents would completely despise the fact that she's trying to dress up like a girl and be herself. And it's caught because apparently at one point her and their friends went to this abandoned hospital, like an abandoned asylum, and Danny accidentally slips on a beer ball and gets glass in the back of his hand. Her mom has to come in. She's all bitching about this, like, I have to come here at 3 in the morning just to pay a bill and stuff. Oh, I bet you were influenced by this slut of yours. God, she's horrible. I mean, there's not even any reason. It's never explained why she's even like this. Just the fact that she's so rude to her own kid. The fact that she's telling off this other person that she barely knows. It's not even her fault entirely. I mean, it kinda is. She kind of encouraging Danny to go with her to the abandoned hospital, but it was never out of maliciousness. And second, obviously, this was an accident. When Shay was telling the scary stories in there, she wasn't intentionally trying to scare Danny. It was just kind of in the heat of the moment. You're kind of like, well, this hospital shut down because, oh, those sacrifices and, oh, those lobotomized people and this kind of stuff. And, you know, you hear rumors and stuff in these kind of scenarios. There's a bunch of abandoned places in Chicago, and I'm like, oh, there has to be a story here. There has to be a reason why this shut down or hasn't been used since then. I went to a rave back in October with some friends, and this place looks like it's been used, but hasn't been used. It's hard to explain. It's like, it looks like a bit of a warehouse, but at the same time, I at one point saw a bulletin board right down the hallway, and it has all these new recent flyers for this place, so it must be like a place that gets rented out. In this story, obviously, this place has been completely abandoned. There's broken beer bottles everywhere, there's graffitis everywhere, and all that kind of stuff. There are interesting storylines in each chapter. By the second chapter, it goes back in time to where Kevin was a guy, and he recently discovered that he has different feelings and doesn't feel like he should have been born the way he was, so he went to this club that his cousin made, and he gets some good inspiration by one of the dancers there, and it's pretty cool. I mean, I think one thing I like about Kevin and Shay as a whole is that she's pretty badass at times. She doesn't care if she's gonna get beaten up by these people who are bullying her. She will literally go down to a fight and make them bleed at least. I'm not saying you have to get into a fight, obviously, especially if you can get in trouble for that, but if they're gonna attack you anyway, at least take them down with you, you know? I kinda like that about her. She's pretty badass. That's all I can say. By the third chapter, it's all about Danny, and again, going back in time. This is after Shay was starting her transitioning and stuff, and unfortunately, Danny's still being bullied at school. And I do like one moment where one of the teachers noticed that Danny is not doing good at testing, and she genuinely feels bad for him and stuff, and wants to make sure that she's okay. Also, for the first, 10 pages, it was drawn by somebody else who unfortunately passed away, so the rest of the chapter was drawn by Miraki Potts, is that it? She's also a transgender woman, like I am, and she's done this on and off for years, and hopefully that will get revived at some point, but I'll talk about that later. Long story short, Danny's still being abused at school. He's still got issues at home. This is a predecessor to what happens when she ends up meeting up with Nikki in the first chapter, apparently, because apparently in this chapter, Danny gets influenced briefly to smoke a bit of cocaine by this other person. This is pretty sad, actually. This kid's life is completely upside down. Just drug abuse and being abused by his own family and other people at school and because of his sexuality. And at one point, his father slaps him in the face because he did the most heinous crime of wearing eyeliner. Yeah, that's justified. And so he literally tried to kill himself by cutting his fucking wrists. You know, it's sad, and he gets sent to a hospital for a little bit. And at one point, the doctor gets a phone call from the parents, and he's like, oh no, he hasn't been cross-dressing and stuff. And what do these parents think about people who cross-dress? Do you think they're just sick? Do they think they're just weird? Because I just don't get it. By the fourth chapter, this takes place after the first chapter, a while later. There's definitely slightly different designs, you can definitely tell. So Danny and Shay go back to the town, and they decide to go to a few more clubs, hang out, meet up with a few friends, and eventually Danny gets his kiss with Rasley, and it's pretty cute. It's nice that he finally gets a little bit of happiness. Unfortunately, the story ends there, it's not continued. For years, it was just left like this until the brief reboot in 2014, which shows a really interesting style, like a more humanly designed style, down-to-earth kind of thing, which this whole story was to begin with, but now you can definitely tell by the designs that it's really interesting, like the way it's designed now. It has more human features, it's less manga, more human style. Kind of like something you would see from King of the Hill, essentially. Only the first 7 pages were released online. Currently, the story is once again on hiatus because the author of the story is, she's not really into it right now. She's doing other fan art and stuff, but she says it's not going away. It'll eventually come back. And hopefully it does, because I really enjoy this story. I've been influenced by it so much. It's funny I mentioned influence because even in like the information on the website for this comic, it's saying these two characters are definitely not role models. Shay is definitely not the role model for every transsexual teen. She is her own experience. She's clearly proven in the story to be wrong at times, and she doesn't have all the answers. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm just influenced in a different way, though. I'm influenced how it was able to help me come out the way I am. It's funny, I think for like the first 5 minutes I was just ranting about how there's trans hate in this world, but like the creator said before about this, if this story can influence a few people to stop hating trans people, it was all worth the while, because this story is pretty damn good. It's a great influence on me, especially for all people who are going through all these issues and stuff, and going through confusion and figuring it out themselves, and still trying to figure out what's going to happen in the future and how to avoid being discriminated against and whatnot. What I'm basically saying is, I really am glad I came across this story, because if I didn't, I think it would take a lot longer for me to understand what transsexualism is all about. Because I've seen that in cartoons before about transvestites or transsexual people in general, but they usually use as punchlines, and that's just wrong. There are times when that can work, but especially like when I've shown Family Guy, it's insulting. It really is. And I'm glad there are stories like Between the Lines, or I think it's going to be Breaking the Lines at some point down the line, if it gets revived. I'm just glad stories like this do exist, where it's straightforward, there's a limited amount of humor, if at all, and I'm glad that the stories are doing the best to relate to real life, and are not watering down what the issues are, because this shit happens. This really does happen. There are people outside right now who have been kicked out of their families' lives because of coming out and being themselves. Because they think that they're just living abominations, because they're just worthless, they're less than human, and they don't deserve to live. They don't deserve to even be in the same breath as us, because somehow we're better because we're not gay or whatever, or trans or bi or whatever, and it's disgusting. Nobody is better because someone else is gay or bi or whatever. It disgusts me. And I'm glad, again, glad these stories exist. I'm glad Between the Lines exists, because it shows that all this other shit, besides being kicked out, like drug abuse and self-abuse and all this horrible stuff, it does happen, unfortunately, and it's really sad. It's really sad this stuff still happens. I don't have much else to say, because you gotta understand. I mean, people in my scenario, people who are transsexual are still being abused, they're still being neglected, they're still being ignored. There are people in certain shelters, for example, that won't allow you, like a trans woman, to be accepted into a woman's shelter because of your past gender history. And that's horrible, because I don't care if you still have a penis right now. If you act like a woman and you treat yourself like a woman, and you clearly have been shown to be described as a woman and all that kind of good stuff, then I would accept you without a second thought, because to me, you are a woman. I don't care. Look at me. I don't care if someone walked up to me and had this kind of voice. If they're acting the way they want to, or aren't happy, and they're doing what they feel like is right, I won't think twice about it. I mean, I might take a second look out of curiosity, but I'm not going to discriminate against them. They're people. They're human beings. They're not walking punchlines. They're not just people you push around because you think it's funny. They are still human beings. They are no different than they were yesterday before they revealed who they are. And it's still sad to see in the society that we're just treating them like walking punchlines, and that's it. I know I'm just kind of rambling on at this point, but all I can say is, to the creator, I can't remember her name, and I'm not sure if you'll ever see this, like, hopefully you'll watch this if you get the chance, and I know it's a bit of a long kind of, it's not a rant, but it's kind of like a long discussion, and hopefully, you get a chance to see this, but if you do, all I can say is thank you so much. You've really made an impact on my life. You've helped me see who I am, and you've actually helped me with certain questions, like, like if gays should have kids or even get married in general, because I was even questioning that years ago because I didn't have the best it's not that I didn't have the best influence, I just didn't have the best knowledge. But I realized it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're gay or straight or bi or whatever. They're still people. They're still human, and they deserve as much happiness as any straight couple, and they deserve as much happiness as any person who's transgender or who's bi or one of those I guess you could say queer sexuals or whatever some people are called, because I've heard different phrases for different things. But all I can say is, again, thank you so much for helping me out, and thank you for making an interesting and well thought out comic. I mean, I know there are some parts that are cliche and whatnot, but that's how certain comics start. And by the looks of it, by your new comic that you're still in hiatus with, it looks like it's getting better. And it really did make a huge impact on me, and I'm glad you made this. And hopefully you get a chance to see this. And to the rest of you guys, I hope you enjoy this. I apologize how long it took for me to finally get this done. Actually, I think this is even longer than me getting the original video done. You know, like if the video I did was done, it would probably have been like 10 minutes or so, 10, 15, so I apologize for keeping me here this long, keeping hostage. I guess what I'm basically saying is, if you have a kid at home, or you have family in general, anyone, or a friend who you were confused with because they are gay or bi or trans or whatever, just, at the very least, don't discriminate against them. Hopefully you will be influenced by this comic. If you want to see more about this comic, look in the description below. There will be links down there. And this is one of the few times I've actually advertised links in my videos, because this is really important. Please do not discriminate against people because of their sexuality or gender, because they're still human beings. They're definitely no different than they were yesterday. They're still human. They still deserve your respect like anyone else. On a side note, again, the link for the Between the Lines comic will be in the description, but also what will be in the description is my original script for the storylines, like basically the review of Between the Lines as a whole. I know I've been kind of rambling on and on, but I figure I'd give you guys a heads up. So, with that said, I hope you guys took some interesting notes from this video. I hope you guys have been influenced. I hope that trans hate will eventually stop, because, well, technically it'll never fully stop like racism, but I hope it'll at least be lowered down enough, because nobody deserves to die or get injured or hurt or God knows what because of who they are like this. They deserve as much love as anyone else, and they deserve to be treated as such.